We believe that all men are created
equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
New polling shows that most Republican primary voters simply don't want to hear the truth. In the latest survey from the New York Times and Siena College, Trump leads Florida Governor Ron DeSantis by 37 points, 54% to just 17% among likely GOP primary voters. All other candidates earned less than 5% of support in the poll, which we should note was conducted before new charges were announced against Trump in the classified documents case, that superseding indictment. If you take out all candidates other than Trump and DeSantis, the survey still shows the former president leading big by a margin of 62% to 31%.
Bigly.
The poll also suggests that 56% of Republicans say Trump did nothing wrong in the classified documents case, though it remains to be seen if last week's superseding indictment has any impact on that support. My guess would be no. And as it relates to Trump's actions after the 2020 vote, 75% of Republicans say he was exercising his right to contest the election. Just 19% say his actions threatened American democracy.
Okay, everybody, psychos for Trump. So we haven't been underestimating Trump. We've been underestimating just how psychopathic the chunks of the United States have become. We got crazy people in this. Honestly, it's just wow. So again, I think yesterday we left off with this statement to the psychos and everybody else that would care to know how far you're allowed to go to contest an election. Didn't we end up saying to you yesterday that if you think that an election was rigged or fraudulent, or that somehow people who were not eligible to vote did vote, or that there was something wrong with the machines, you have one avenue that you are permitted to go down, and you can go down that avenue in every single solitary place where you feel that any of those things occurred. That would be the court. After the court decides whether or not your evidence that you've provided to the court actually makes your case or does not, and they rule, the court rules, that is the end of legitimate discourse. That is the end of a legitimate effort to argue about the results of an election. There is nothing else you are permitted to do in the United States of America. Trump went to court 60 plus times, and each and every time he was ruled against. Each and every case was either tossed out or was rejected on the merits of the case or the lack of evidence provided to the court. Now, the deranged people, the deranged people in this country, again, are not the majority of this country. They are a small segment of the population. However, when they talk about it like they do on the TV, it sounds like a real horse race is occurring. Okay? No, it isn't. What you have are two of the cruelest, nastiest people who are holding their names out as being the Republican nominee for 2024. That would be Donald Trump, the orange Satan, and a Ron death sentence, who is just a Nazi. He is a white Christian nationalist with absolutely no personality that anybody likes. Nobody feels like he is, entitled to their vote because they find him boring, which is a sin in the Republican Party. It's anathema. It's poison. So that's why he's losing so terribly, but he's the second best vote getter. And it's because the cruelty of DeSantis is somewhat appealing to the psycho base. And what DeSantis is hoping happens is that Donald Trump either runs out of money or is indicted or just takes himself out of the running for some crazy reason, health-wise, or out of money, or, really didn't want to run from jail, although he said today he would. He said there would be nothing that would stop him from running for president. Donald Trump did, including being in prison. He would run from prison. Okay. But DeSantis is hoping that that's all bluster, and that once Donald Trump is, out of the running, because he hasn't trashed Donald Trump a la Asa Hutchinson or Chris Christie or Will Hurd, because he's left Donald Trump unmolested, that Donald Trump's voters will feel comfortable moving over to him. So basically what I'm saying here is Ron DeSantis is running for sloppy seconds. Yeah. That is the deal. Now, he's barely more electable than Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay. And it's very, very early. And of course, DeSantis is very busy pretending he likes being in Iowa right now. He's, so full of crap that it's almost, an obscenity to show him on the TV because, you need like parental guidance just because of the amount of dung that is thrown out of the TV camera into your living room when he speaks with a beer in his hand. I mean, people are just like losing it watching him because it's just so phony. It's so fake. It's so hysterically fake. So, there's that. But he's pretending he likes it in Iowa because he thinks if he gets, the caucus goers to vote for him and put him over the top and he can win in Iowa, the caucuses, then he's off to the races. He's viable. But let me just remind you of this, okay? Does anybody remember who won Iowa in 2020? 2016? Let's go back then. Does anybody remember who? Yeah, that would have been Ted Cruz. Right. And the 4 years prior to Ted Cruz's take in Iowa, do you remember who that was? Yeah, that was Rick Santorum. Yeah, the big names of the Republican Party always float to the top in Iowa politics. So, DeSantis is hoping that will be him. But here, honestly, this is a man who is very unpopular. He really, truly is. So much so that the people in Cult Trump think his anti-woke message is a loser. I mean, that's how crazy the Trump supporters are. When Trump was saying woke this, woke that, they were all about, getting rid of woke. Now, all of a sudden, DeSantis takes over that message and they're like, we like, anti-woke stuff. We don't want to be, I don't even know what they're talking about anymore, okay? But he has the support of 65% of the voters who call themselves very conservative. Very conservative. But, the rest of us call them backcrap crazy. Because if they're very conservative, wouldn't they be for law and order? Wouldn't they be for, like punishing criminals in this country? Wouldn't they be on that? And Donald Trump obviously has committed many, many crimes. And what's really sick and sad is that yesterday we got a ruling from another court, another judge. This judge in Georgia. Donald Trump sued in Georgia to get Fani Willis thrown off the case. Okay, to say that she manufactured evidence and to that she can't possibly prosecute him, and that simply being indicted has ruined his reputation, you see. The judge told him, your indictments actually produced a fundraising bonanza. So maybe in normal circumstances, being indicted is not a great thing for one's reputation. But it's so interesting that you brought this case based on that when you, and you alone, actually profited like millions and millions and millions of dollars by telling your supporters, your contributors, that you were indicted. They showed up with their money. So that argument ain't going to fly. Oh, and the other thing, Fani Willis is totally within her rights to prosecute you in Georgia. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.